Oh, look, here we go.
Something seems different, Damon. I can't quite put my finger on it. Are we on the right website?
As we come to determine who our next victim, target, subject of our FTE Roundup is on rolls.org, which we have used for, 17, 18 straight students now?
Yep.
Here we are presented with a note to citizens of the European Union due to Article 13, where it turns out that rolls.org will not be available for European Union citizens henceforth. That's right, abominable overregulation by ignorant technocrats who assume they know better than you on how the internet works, and that draconian enforcement of an outdated model of copyright law, which needs to be reformed, will make the world better for everyone. Yes, let us remove your freedoms. To this I ask, cui bono?
Sic semper tyrannis.
No, I said cui bono! Who benefits? If you're an EU citizen, I'm not actually sure that you do. Can somebody explain to me how Article 13 benefits citizens of EU member nations?
The irony here is that an EU citizen might not be able to see this video.
Again I ask, cui bono? Who benefits? I'm only gonna say this once, and we won't bring it up again. At least in this video. We might bring it up again later, though.
If it comes up in this video again, that'll be some weird synchronicity.
I'm not sure it'd be synchronicity at that point. Anyway, I'm only gonna say this one time. If you live in the EU, please write your legislator and let them know how you feel about this. It probably will not have an effect, but they will never be rebuked if no one ever rebukes them. You cannot wait for someone else to complain to your legislator for you. You must do it yourself. Here's hoping it all works out. We're the Bittersweet Gamers.
Time we squared.
I'm the Opinionator.
And let's find out who's next. Eventually. 2!
Why is it always 2? First it was always 1, now it's always 2. We were playing Danganronpa 1 and it always rolled 1, and now we've gotten 2 in Danganronpa 2 twice in a row.
Oh.
Now that's synchronicity.
1, not you. What were you saying about synchronicity, Damon?
Oh wait, no, that's the wrong Toonie. Wow, looks like we're actually almost done on Gundam.
Well, I mean, he lasted quite a while after all, so and we do like him a whole lot.
Don't say it like that.
物語を作ろう。
Oh, excellent. Tomokazu Sugita is Gundam's voice actor. He's quite excellent. He was Yusuke in Persona 5.
Oh!
He's also Katakuri in One Piece, which is a really appropriate casting. I didn't know that, actually.
Wow!
He's a recent, very relevant villain. He's also been in a whole lot of robot anime.
What? I feel like the world has turned on its head. You said that so dismissively.
Well, I'm trying to not go on and on and on about it because his name is Gundam, and so what I'm going to do is go on and on about Gundam instead.
Fair point. Oh no, not Gundam.
No, that's the wrong Chuny. Now then, it's time for me to make my next move. Even I can be bored to death.
よかろう。
So, are you going to entertain me, fiend?
Entertain me, fiend.
What's that? Do you mock me? Know you not of the organization?
Wrong Chuny!
I reject that Chuny, for he is stupid!
Oh god, we've got into a Chuny overload. We've reached critical Chuny. The world is about to explode.
All according to Keikaku.
I spent time with Gundam today, quizzing each other about animals. Well, really him quizzing me because there's no question I could ask that he wouldn't know.
Earring of crushed evil created by a legendary home tutor? I have no idea what that means, but obviously you like it.
貴様。
Hajime, You fiend!
Let me just put an R in there and we got the word right.
No, you fool. That spells friend! Puh.
Yes, I know.
That is a word I spit on. It is not in my lexicon of evil.
Okay.
喜ぶがいい。
As long as this treasure is within my grasp, I will never forget this day. Thanks to this, I will be able to use my power to conquer the evil organization, CERN! Banana! Sorry, I'm just really awfully mixed up about many things recently. So what has actually happened in his FTEs? I mean, we
found out about his website that he runs for other breeders.
Yeah, about how he's actually quite serious, relatively wise, and like very well organized in a practical manner when it comes to breeding.
Yeah, he's very competent and knows what he's doing, even though you have to translate what he says.
Ah, yes. Anything that can talk will betray you, which is probably the big moment.
Mm-hmm. Especially considering where we got it.
Interesting coincidence, wasn't it? Hold it! If you come any closer...
I know. I won't get close to you.
これも因果律の定めか。
It appears that you've finally noticed. The blood that flows within me bears a fearsome curse.
Uh-huh. Sure, man.
The line he just delivered was "this too is the will of causality," but what he said, "ingaritsu no sarame," like I'm trying to get it in as flowery a way as he said it.
Uh-huh.
The immutable fate of causality.
Ah.
Like the immutable fate upon you.
Oh.
It's slightly different than the will of causality line, which is a great line.
But it's not pretentious enough.
No, it's not pretentious enough. His original line was actually, well, slightly different.
Of course it does.
悲しいな。
Ever since I was young, this body of mine was exposed to so many poisons that it became poisonous itself.
Well, that's what happens when you raise snakes.
If a mere human like you ever touched me, you will immediately decompose and wither away. Thus, I've been trying to make sure you don't get too close to me.
Aha. Now, when he says my body has been exposed to poisons, I don't think he's saying that literally.
He doesn't say anything literally.
Yeah. Let's see.
You know, your body has been exposed to poisons. Billy has this curious skill. He has been poisoned many times.
So I can tell when I've been poisoned just from the state of my body.
And he understands what to do when he has been poisoned. Because he has the experience of being poisoned.
What am I, Russian?
No, if you were Russian and poisoned, you'd be dead.
It's a fair point.
What's some of the things that have poisoned you, Billy?
Let's not get into all the things that have poisoned me throughout my long, somehow life.
His somehow long life? Well, the thing is, it's never been your fault.
I know. Well, let's see. There was insecticide one time, paint another time.
You got poisoned by paint?
It was a really strange circumstance that led to that.
You cannot leave that hanging. Hasn't it been insecticide several times?
It's been insecticide several times. Many people have tried.
I'll tell you what. The next time you buy a bug bomb or some other type of insecticide, do not open the box, begin to set it off, then put it back in the box and ask for your money back. Okay? Because the person will then take it, examine it, and the bomb goes off in their face.
I would really appreciate that if you don't do that anymore. More than once. The paint had to do with me painting something, and I had an untreated open wound, and I wasn't really practicing any sort of safe... I wasn't wearing any protective gear.
Oh, that one was your fault.
That one was my fault.
I didn't know that you could get poisoned by paint entering your bloodstream.
Paint's pretty frickin' toxic, Damon. Thankfully, I was in the military at that time, so I was able to get the help I needed. Obviously, or I'd be dead. So what I was trying to say is maybe this ties in...
Here's the address. This is where you send your opened bug bombs to.
Die!
And broken cans of Raid.
Stab!
Billy needs more of them. You fiend! You cannot hurt me with your mere blade. When it touches my skin, my overlord of ice powers cause it to vaporize.
Okay, man. So what I was trying to say before Damon derailed this entire conversation is maybe he's talking about, like, that whole anything that can talk can betray you. Maybe he's been betrayed so much that he feels like he can't be trusted, and so that's part of why he doesn't want people getting close, something like that.
That he can't be trusted.
I'm just trying to think of a way that it makes sense in terms of poison. Like, he's been poisoned so much that he poisons others.
Huh.
Maybe some sort of self-esteem issue. Maybe he feels like it's his fault that other people betray him so much. Does that mean you've been thinking of me?
I mean, don't get ahead of yourself. Even if you're just a foolish human, I'm not so cruel as to yearn for your meaningless death.
Can I assume that he's blushing?
No.
But he says his blood is poison. What would be the advantage of that, I say out loud?
It's not an issue of gains and losses. I became like this. Poisonous, cruel, evil. Because I had to. I have to be like this, even if I don't want to be. I've been putting poison in my body ever since I was young.
Sounds somewhat plausible. Could it be your mom's an awful cook?
Yeah.
Was your mother's cooking bad?
You thought I was speaking of the Hedgehog's dilemma, about how I would force people not to get close to me because I would hurt them. But no, really, I've just eaten lots of terrible food.
Crap! I was only joking, but it sounds like that was exactly it.
You wouldn't understand how much pain I had to endure. Plus, that woman would cry if I didn't finish my plate. What choice did I have but to suffer in silence, eat her charcoal briquettes, and essentially grass and leaves?
There, buddy. Don't you feel better now that you've talked about it?
No! It's reminded me of my horrible, tragic past!
I mean, you're actually a really kind guy.
Oh,
命拾いしたな。
fall! My tears! Anyway, now that you understand, you shouldn't come any closer to me. I have extremely bad gas. Know that if you ever touch me, it would mean death for you.
Okay, so our interrupting got recorded. Oh, well, I just failed that. Let me start over. Our recording got interrupted by someone knocking on our door, and we were like, what? So when we went out there, I had ordered something, and I'd been wondering, like, even today, out loud to Damon before we recorded, where it was. And it turns out it had been delivered to his place. So he tracked us down and delivered the package to me.
How nice is that?
It was really excellent. Speaking of really kind guys. But that's really lonesome. Hey, Gundam, can I ask you something?
よかろう。
If you have the fortitude, go right ahead.
I didn't even say anything yet. When you were in grade school, did you ever hold hands with any of the other kids?
I see. So what you are referring to is the incident that Damon mentioned in the last FTE, where he, shall we say, held hands.
What?
Oh, I'm crossing everything, aren't I? It's obvious now, but at the time I was faking my condition by moving next to the teacher who served me. I was able to avoid questions and survive without any problems.
Did you ever have to do a folk dance?
What?
バカな。
You don't understand! That is a ceremony for summoning evil deities!
Hiyoko would agree with you.
Fortunately, the school nurse was in the same tribe as me, so I was able to leave without getting involved.
Uh-huh. I see. It might have been bad of me to point out something so unnecessary. I don't know what to say to him anymore.
I don't really know what to say to you either.
So then, what kind of people are okay to get close to you? Princesses?
Blonde ones. Anyone whose power matches my own, or... No, there's no way such a Sonia being exists. You should just forget about that. For your sake.
With those words, Gundam walked away. He seemed very lonely. What was he going to say? If he just told me, maybe I could have hooked him up. And if I had, maybe he wouldn't have shouted nonsense at me. And if I had, maybe that could have been avoided.
Yeah, that was strange, wasn't it? I mean, I get that he was just asked about a minor incident from his childhood, and he responded with all types of coonified excuses, but kind of...
Well, I mean...
unnecessary?
But we're also near the end of his FTEs, so that's usually when they start showing their real selves.
Well, what I'm saying is that was not that.
He doesn't seem like his usual self.
Why do you keep following me?
I gotta get your hope fragments.
In truth, there's no way I'd ever associate with someone like you. Someone so depressingly normal. Someone with no real interest in animals.
I'm sorry I'm such a disappointment to you.
You should apologize. Still, why do you continue to hound me? Does this mean my absolute mental defenses are wearing off?
I don't know what you think this is, but we are friends who are working together to escape.
We are not!
What the? He seized up all of a sudden.
Settle down, my wicked arm!
Don't worry, I'll go grab Rukako. Now I'm getting confused.
No, you mustn't! If you attempt to exercise me when my arm is going like this, all of the fabric of reality can be destroyed! Certainly those who attempt the exorcism will also die! They will be possessed with the power of the arm themselves! Are you a Kotodama user? You wish to manipulate me with false words and cheap tricks, don't you?
No! In fact, you're the one who said I'm just a mere human with no special abilities whatsoever.
Oh, you're right. I did say that, and since it's impossible for me to be wrong, I must have been right by saying you're a mere human with no special abilities, so... Let's change the subject. You wouldn't understand. I'm in isolation for a reason. There will never be a day when you understand why I became who I am. As in, you can never understand me. No one ever can ever understand me. No one has ever been in the situation that I have been in. I mean, I get it when it comes to a teenager, but...
But it's not true. No one's circumstances are unique just to them.
And the existence of the suffering of someone else does not change your own suffering.
Yeah.
If someone else has suffered more than you, that does not mean you have not suffered. If someone else has suffered less than you, that does not mean you have not suffered or they have not suffered. I'm not trying to just suddenly turn and hit Gundam with a hammer. Throughout the LP, we spent a lot of time talking about him.
Mm-hmm. He's one of my favorite characters anyway.
You probably like him a little bit more than I do, but I mean, I do like Gundam. That's one of the reasons that we didn't talk about him too much in this. We spent so much time in the LP that there may not be too much to say. Anyway, so I'm not suddenly trying to beat him on the head with a stick here. But this is an extremely narcissistic type of thinking. It's really self-centered, and it's always wrong. I'm the offspring of an angel and a devil, accursed being shunned and rejected by everything in this world. Once I lose the only thing I love, I'm destined to spend my last days being devoured alive by demon beasts.
我が名は田中ガンダム
Truly, I am mankind's natural foe, evil incarnate, a walking cataclysm, a shapeless insanity, Gundham Tanaka!
He sounds like his normal self, but there's definitely something different about him. There might be a kernel of truth hidden in the words he just spoke. It's true. I don't know anything about what drove you to this point.
Joking about cooking aside, he is clearly isolated. Whatever it was that happened, he was betrayed by someone he trusted very much, and that soured him on human relationships. We don't really know the details, of course, because he not only won't tell anybody, he won't let anybody get close. This is really why he's ultimate despair. In everybody's case, it's some degree of self-inflicted wounds, but his seem to be the most self-inflicted. You can't be this chuny without being kind of narcissistic. Again,
Yeah, otherwise you're not really being chuny, are you?
not to this extent. Yeah, again, the point isn't to beat up Gundam.
Right.
We like Gundam.
Yeah, and we've kind of beat him up enough for that.
Like we said, we spent most of the Let's Play where Gundam was around doing nothing but praising Gundam. So it's sort of a turnabout is fair play kind of deal. So you can't be chuny without being a narcissist like this. And if you are a narcissist, you are more likely to be dramatic. If you are a teenager, you are more likely to be dramatic.
That's true.
And if you act excessively chuny, you are more likely to be dramatic.
The percentages might not be equivalent.
Thus, when something really bad happens to you, you're more likely to react to it in an overly dramatic way. In a way in which you hold on to it and never let it go and never show it to anybody else. And like, hold your emo pain as your treasure.
Yeah.
And instead of processing it, you know? I'm not saying it's not sad, like quite the opposite. The tragedy is that whatever it was that happened to him probably broke him.
I suspect the offspring of the angel and the devil, I bet the devil might be his father. It may be related to his father. Like his father betraying them in some way.
There may be some bias that you have here.
I have no clue what you're talking about, but I understand feeling shunned and rejected by everything in this world.
I was going to say, when you were in middle school, there was like that period of the long dark trench coat, Billy, wasn't there?
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking. We don't talk about Vampire the Masquerade here.
Oh yeah? No, in all seriousness, I do think you're right about the offspring of an angel and a devil, a cursed being shunned and rejected.
He eats his mom's awful cooking and suffers through it silently because he loves her. So she's clearly not the devil in this analogy, if that's what that means.
Poor guy. In a way, he's very similar to Hiyoko. Like, he got thoroughly broken at a young age and was never able...
And he pushed people away in a different way than Hiyoko does just by being a brat.
Yeah, and he was never able to find the courage necessary to try and process his grief.
Mm-hmm.
On the contrary, he found some degree of strength in it, which is something I certainly understand.
He certainly cares about animals an awful lot.
Oh yeah, no, that goes without saying. Again, though, that goes without saying. Though I'm going to say something about it in a minute. What was it Byakuya said in the last FTEs? That you'll never know what it's like. That Hajime would never know how fortunate he is to have something familiar to return to.
Yeah.
Well, Gundam's attitude, Gundam's chuny style, and Gundam's conviction in his beliefs in acting the way he does, that is his familiarity to return to. Whether it's artificial or not, he constructed a core. And then he used that core to get by. However, is Gundam the ultimate chuny?
No.
Or is Gundam the ultimate breeder?
He's the ultimate breeder.
In the first chunk of his FTEs, he was talking about the breeding, the animal breeder stuff. And you constantly see the four dark divas of destruction throughout the game. Yet in the latter part of his FTEs, he doesn't talk about that at all. What's the difference? It's like, he's not talking about his love, only his hate and his sorrow. Like, the way that I'm taking it is that it's showing the dichotomy between Gundam, the ultimate breeder, and Gundam, the Chuny.
Ah, okay, I see what you're saying.
That first FTE of his, wasn't that the one where he was talking about...
The website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the only thing he ever was a Chuny, who could only be a Chuny, who was never not a Chuny, he certainly couldn't have made this website where he's talking to other people who breeding animals, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because everybody would have to translate his Chuny, but nobody has to do that. Because he just talks about the breeder. The breeder part of his personality and the Chuny part of his personality...
are separate.
Yeah. Now, they can be together, and they can be separate. And I still say it's sad that no one has ever gotten to see the breeder part of his personality, except probably some other breeders, because he won't show it to them. Because he uses it as his constructed core of strength. It's not that he's not that, but he has his love, the part of himself where all his happiness is, that he never shows to anybody else, will never show to anybody else, because he does not ever want to be betrayed. And if it was not that, then why don't we ever see it? He talks about it happening, about interacting with the breeding community and being valued.
Yeah.
And providing value to other breeders, but he'll never show it to anybody here, and he never did.
That is sad.
It is sad. But, I mean, that's why everyone here is ultimate despair. I'm not saying that he has to change.
No!
Outside of, processing his grief.
But everyone should process their grief. He can still be as Chuny as he wants. Just, let us in, man.
The ultimate imposter talks about ultimate imposting. You really found out about Hyoko's dancing later in her FTEs. You found out about the imposting late in the FTEs.
But instead, the breeding is at the beginning of the FTEs and the Chuny's at the end of the FTEs.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. I don't know anything about what drove you to this point. But I definitely believe that you're my friend. If I didn't think that, I wouldn't be able to go on. That's it. That's the only reason. As long as you're my friend, I have no desire to take anything away from you and try to force you to change.
Oh, what were we just talking about?
これも因果律の定めか。
It seems that I completely misread you. I never expected a human like you to contain a singularity.
Oh god, I'm turning into Jelly Man!
Spinning around like a Kerr black hole.
Huh? Have I been promoted from a mere human?
Not bad. You asked me the other day what sort of existence would be capable of touching me.
現れたか。
The answer to that is the singularity.
Are you hitting on me?
No, I'm trying to send you into the past. A being who can make the impossible possible by overcoming various limitations.
What? Am I really that amazing?
Actually, he did just accurately describe Hajime, didn't he?
He did!
It's a shame Gundam never got to see that, Because that sort of would have been, oh, my Chuny worldview has been...
destroyed.
Rather the opposite, isn't it? Has been vindicated. Also, he and Sonya really are a great match.
I know. I love that we joked about it and then the game was just like, awkward cough.
Did we joke about it, though?
We did it in the FTE, in the funhouse.
And then it started to happen.
And then the game started to do it. Like, it was already pairing them off together, and that's kind of what made us make the joke. But then it started getting more and more, and it was just like, oh.
It's just that they're both so weird that they could actually really easily get along. It's like, if he would have known her and been able to process his grief, instead of get sucked into some weird cult
Yeah.
You know, things could have really turned out well for him.
He's one of the stronger, psychologically, people.
The constructed Chuni core gave him a lot. Like, he might have really been able to pull himself out, you know, if he just would have had somebody. Don't get ahead of yourself. A simple creature like you does not have that much power.
俺様はまだ半分の力も出していない。
However, I can lend you my powers, as long as you yearn for them.
Then I'll leave this to you.
Excellent.
なんだと
For you to say that so easily.
よかろ
Well, who cares? Lend me your hand.
Are you going to draw a hamster on it? I stuck out my hand like he told me to do, and after some hesitation, Gundam slowly gripped my hand. His hand felt like a normal person's hand, and I definitely didn't wither away and die.
Like a normal person's
う。
hand.
契約は完了だ。俺様の許可なく死ぬことは許さんぞ。
I really want to say that to him too, but he'll definitely yell at me if I do. Instead, I gripped Gundam's hand so tightly that it started hurting. You know, much like Ocarine, his grunts are amazing too. It somehow became a battle of endurance, but I felt a strong bond between Gundam and me. Which reminds me, it's been a long time since I felt so happy being acknowledged by someone.
Well, being acknowledged by Gundam is something. Overlord's vassal, eh? Infinity Unlimited Flame? From the Lord of Ice? He gives you a fire move?
Well, I mean, you know, it's just the duality of, I don't know, man.
On a darker note, I will not allow you to die without my permission. He gave his permission, didn't he?
Yeah, that's definitely, yeah.
He who was so painfully betrayed was prepared to betray others, and then try to justify it afterwards. He could have looked worse than he did, but still...
Yeah, you're right.
Still, he tried to justify it after being completely found out. Well, that's the thing about betrayal, right?
Begets more betrayal?
Yeah. There's quite a lot I don't mind sharing, but I too have had my... I feel like I have had an overlarge portion of betrayal in my life, and I don't particularly wish to talk about any of it.
I can relate.
Now, I've dealt with it.
As have I.
But I don't really want to talk about the specifics here. Increases the power of the silencer, huh?
Ah, I guess it means it takes less shots to punch through white noise.
Look, I'm not trying to say that, oh, it's easy. All you gotta do is just snap your fingers and spin in a circle and you can process all your grief and do everything right and forgive yourself and forgive others. Or not forgive them, which might actually be the better case, but I mean, that's why it's called processing, right? I'm not trying to say that, but just because something is hard doesn't mean that it's still not something you should do.
Because if you don't, you turn into an ultimate despair.
You're never gonna be able to get over yourself until you get over yourself. And everybody has to do it.
Everyone. Don't think for 1 second that there's a person out there who doesn't have to do this.
And it sucks.
But that's part of growing up.
Cue heavy music!
This has been a very special episode of the Bittersweet.
I can't even make out what that is.
What?
Ah! You can't tell if it's really there or not. So what you're telling me is that Gundam goes commando.
I kind of got the king's new clothes from it. Apparently humans with low astral vision cannot see it. So yes, he goes commando. This is what we needed to know.
My life has been enriched.
Billy disapproves.